you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music. Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope you're all doing well out there right now.
Hello everyone. Andy is okay. He's not depressed. He just sounds...
I've got like so many screens on the go at the minute. It's too much. I need to like try and minimize it, I think. Ridiculous.
Like the like in Matrix Revolutions.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. I just need to get a pair of fucking the Google glasses that they had as well to really push it over the edge.
Oh, speaking of Google glasses, you know them what are they called? The X-Real ones. Them things I sent the other day in the group.
Yes, yeah.
Someone has seen them in person who went to CES.
Oh wow!
I was speaking to him today, and he said it's not a gimmick. Well, it is a gimmick, but it actually works. So they let us in a thing afterwards. You just plug it into your phone, and it just shows whatever's on your phone screen in the glasses. Mm-hmm. So because it's all it is, it's like a piece of glass on the. You got the glasses glass, and then behind that you've got like a periscope. So all the technology is in the rim, and it just reflects down onto this pane of glass that's in front of your eye. And it's all LED, so it's a transparent LED through there, and you can send it, so you can have it fixed in the corner of your vision, so you can literally walk down the street, and you can have like a match there, playing.
Dangerous, that is, isn't it? That is dangerous.
But he said it actually works, and there's no judder or anything like that where it's like calibrated itself. So it's not like VR, like VR headset where you just pinning stuff like that stupid Apple Vision Pro thing. But it actually works. So we could be sitting there on the couch watching the late game or whatever on the way home, just with glasses on, powered by your phone. And it works. It's £500, but it works.
Yeah. I was in the O2 shop. I was returning my router the other day, and they've got Ray-Bans which are Meta powered. So I didn't go over and look any deeper than that, but like Ray-Ban are getting onto it now. So I think it could have been that Google were just too far ahead of everybody else, and now everyone's going to slowly catch up and do these things and put more money into it than Google ever did. But yeah, the future sounds dangerous, because some cunt's going to do that whilst fucking driving and kill people, because you know what people are like.
Well, they were doing that with the Apple Vision Pro, weren't they? They were driving down the street with it.
Oh God, of course they were. Yeah.
So, as well as being in McDonald's.
I sure vaguely remember seeing people playing fucking Pokemon Go with it whilst in a car. Like Yeah, people do silly things. What's not silly though is the Oscars. It's a really tenuous segue. Um, we've got the second half of the podcast to do. So we're looking at 2012 to 2023's Oscar winners, where we're going to look at who won and who we think should have won. And then in the final part of the episode, we're going to be talking about Nick Cage in Wind Talkers. 2012, Stu, that was the year that Argo won Best Picture, and more was nominated, as was Beasts of the Southern Wild, Django Unchained, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Les Miserables, Silver Linings Playbook, and Zero Dark 30. Was Argo the right choice? And if it wasn't, who should have won?
It probably actually was. I think Argo's a great film.
Yeah.
Django Unchained is Django Unchained. It is what it is. I don't think it's going to be beating Argo in any kind of, for an Oscar point of view, it's not going to be beating that. Zero Dark 30 though, like we talked about, again, I'm guessing that you haven't seen, because you haven't seen The Hurt Locker either. If The Hurt Locker's winning, then Zero Dark 30 is in with a chance, and that's probably why it was nominated, because again, it is Catherine Bigelow as well. I don't think it's as good as The Hurt Locker.
Right, okay.
But it's a damn good film in its own right. But yeah, I think it'd probably be, for me, it'd be between Argo and Django Unchained that year. And I think that probably the right decision was made.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen Zero Dark 30, but I can't remember anything about it. Just knowing it's a film with Jessica Chastain, I feel like there's a good chance I've seen it, but I can't remember a single thing about it if I have, so I'm not entirely sure. But I did see Argo, and I absolutely love Argo. I think it was like Affleck should have won the best Oscar for director that year, and it was just the great film of the year for me. I've seen pretty much all of the others. I didn't like Beasts of the Southern Wild. Life of Pi was very okay. Les Mis I enjoy, but it's just because I like musicals. So, and Silver Linings Playbook was fine, but not amazing. So yeah, I think that Argo is probably the one. I think that the issue with the 10 nominees, or rather having 10 pick nominees and 5 director nominees, is you're always going to get these kind of issues with someone like Ben Affleck missing out on the director's nominee where he probably should have been there. It feels weird to me that you have that category anyway, that you have the best picture and the best director. They sort of go hand in hand for me. I don't know how you have the best picture and not be the best director. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because how many times does one win and the other doesn't, though? That's the thing.
Yeah, it does happen. It's very strange. It doesn't make any sense.
Because when you can't think, there can't be that many. I mean, maybe this is a thing for another time, going through best director winners and if the film is bad or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, we could probably do that next year, to be fair, when it's the next Oscar season. I do think it's worth looking at to see what the score is between the best picture winner and the best director winner. Be interesting to see. 2013, 12 Years a Slave was the winner. American Hustle, Captain Phillips, Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, Her, Nebraska, Philomena, and The Wolf of Wall Street were the nominees. I think 2013 was the first year that I watched all of the Best Picture nominees before the date, if I remember correctly, because I definitely saw all of those before it went out. And I thought at the time that 12 Years was the best film, and that was the one that won. It's kind of got that Schindler's List effect for me, that once is enough because it's a painful watch. Very strong year, though, I think this one was.
Yeah. Dallas Buyers Club would have won any other year, I think. But yeah, it's a powerful, important film. You can't really argue with it, really. It ticks all the boxes. However good Wolf of Wall Street is, and the fact that it's turned into a bit of a meme factory since.
Yeah.
And Gravity, though. Did you watch Gravity? I presume you watched Gravity like probably on 2 times speed or at home or something, or on a phone or something like that.
I watched it. I didn't see it at the cinema, but I did watch it on like a TV. Definitely
Yeah.
didn't put it on 2 times speed, but yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's more again, like Avatar, it needed to be watched properly. On
Mm.
3D IMAX was I said this before, but we took Mom to go and watch that because she didn't have any concept of 3D films. And
Okay.
we went to, Five Ways Cineworld, Birmingham one.
Mm.
So, I don't think Telford IMAX was open then. But that was the biggest one around here, and we went
Mm.
there. And you know when the number when it counts down from 10 to 1, the numbers that fly towards the screen,
Yeah.
she ducked.
Incredible.
And so it was 10 and he comes towards the screen, and she went like that.
Yeah.
We were just looking, "What the fuck are you doing?" No, I didn't realise it was that real, did I?
I remember when I went to see, I think it was Alice in Wonderland was the first 3D I saw in the cinema. And one of the trailers to like show off what 3D can do, it was a Michael Jackson dancing and he throws his hat towards the screen. And there was some people in front of us who just fucking ducked down, like they thought it was going to hit them right in the face. They proper shit it. That was the highlight of the film. In fairness, it was not a good movie, but yeah, incredible when you watch people reacting to 3D.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like it was. I mean, My Bloody Valentine had been out years before that, and that was.
Yeah.
I've now finally secured a copy of it properly
Okay.
because there was one that was released on. It was 3D, but it was the red and green glasses things, and
Yeah.
it came with 2 pairs of red and green glasses in the Blu-ray box.
Mm.
So I have got that
Okay.
somewhere. You can have that if you want. Oh, I've now got the proper Blu-ray 3D. I haven't watched it again since, but that film is just a tech demo for 3D film,
Okay.
and it's got Jensen Ackles in from
Oh,
Supernatural,
well.
so it's always a good thing.
Mm.
But it was a fun stupidity, that film was, but again, there's a lot of knives and swords coming out the screen at you.
Yeah. That instantly became the issue with 3D films or films that were made for 3D, where it was just stuff popping out at the screen, like, in spite of the fact that it served no purpose to the story.
Yeah.
It was just random. Yeah.
But Jurassic Park 3D, when they figured it out and they got it right, like Gravity, it's
Mm.
not about things popping out the screen, it's about the depth,
Yeah.
and that's why
That's always been my issue with 3D films, is it not 3D because it's just a 2D image stood in front of a 2D image. Does
yeah.
need to have depth to it.
And it was the depth which was why it was so good, especially on IMAX. And I have got it. I've got it on. Well, it's again out of reach. But I have got the 3D Blu-ray, and I've never watched it
Mm.
because I'm guessing that it's not going to be as good as that IMAX version.
Probably
Again,
not.
it is not a good film. It is not the best film of the year. It does not deserve to be on this list for anything other than technical achievements.
Mm.
Not when you've got fucking 12 Years a Slave. It's not in day.
Yeah. I might be wrong, but I'm sure Quaron won the best director this year for Gravity.
That one surprised me.
Potentially. Yeah, I just have a feeling that it was him. I think, didn't Sandy B win best leading actress, I think, potentially. 2014. This doesn't look like it's got 10 on either.
I-
Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, was the winner. The nominees were American Sniper, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. Right winner, do you think?
Mm, kind of. It's not a classic year, is it? I like the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
More than I like the Imitation Game. A lot of people like the Imitation Game, not for me though. Again, it's probably the best of a not exceptional bunch. Birdman, even though he is excellent in it. He's excellent in that film.
Yes, he is.
but the film itself is not wonderful. It's not Oscar worthy. But if The Dark Knight is not winning anything, then Birdman shouldn't. But I would have said Grand Budapest Hotel personally.
I think Whiplash probably edges it for me. I think Whiplash, it does everything that I think Birdman does, like the themes that it explores. And obviously it's centered around celebrity and identity, especially within Hollywood. I think Whiplash does similar in that it's about this identity of who you are in relation to your sort of semi-fame that he has in that. Plus, you've got one of the best performances ever given with J.K. Simmons,
Yeah.
who did win Best Supporting Actor this year. The sound editing is exceptional. Like, it works on an artistic and a technical level. It's probably more of an all-rounder than any of the other films on this list.
Is Melissa in that?
Interstellar. You what? Sorry.
Is Melissa Benoist in that?
Yes, she plays the girlfriend.
Yeah, I thought she was.
Interstellar and Gone Girl, neither of those films made the list, which, as it's an 8-film list, when they've been doing 10, why are they missing that out? Like, I think both of those films are as good, if not better, than at least a third of the movies that made that list. Interstellar's had like a bit of a weird life, I think, because it was, when it was released, people said it was fine, but they didn't love it, and now it's like the highest rated film on Letterboxd. So it's somehow got this second life of being the best film ever made.
I think it's had 3 lives really, because you had that. It came out and Nolan heads love it. No one else does. And then you had the kind of the phase where people started talking about it. Oh, maybe 4 because people started talking about it again when it came out on Blu-ray, and then it was on digital even back then. And this is amazing, this hidden film, that the Blade Runner effect. And then people started shitting on it again. And then when Tenet came out, and Tenet was not as good as that, people love it again.
Yeah.
So
it's very bizarre how it's worked out for that movie.
Yeah. And I thought he was stunning straight away from day one.
Because I only watched it fairly recently, like within the last 12 months. And it's good, don't get me wrong. It's probably in the bottom half of Christopher Nolan's films, though. If I'm being blunt. Like, I don't think it's... Yeah, I think of the 10 that he's done, this is firmly in the middle.
But I think if you take the Batman ones away, this is probably the most IMAX-y kind of for that level, for the blockbuster crowd. Because of...
Yeah.
And that's mostly where I saw it. I saw it the first time, then I saw it on re-release, and then I've seen it at home. It's definitely better on the biggest screen you can possibly get.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. 2015 we're on now then. So Spotlight was the winner that year. The nominees were The Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, and Room. Not The Room, unfortunately, just Room. Spotlight is a very good film. Mad Max is better though. Inside Out, which I think is probably the best film of the year, though, if I'm being honest. Inside Out could and possibly should have been the first animated film to have ever won Best Picture. I think it's a perfect movie.
But it didn't get the love until later, though. That's the problem with it.
Yeah, there probably is some of that. Yeah.
I mean, The Revenant is better than Spotlight. The Revenant is a great...
Yeah, probably is.
I mentioned last week. Is it... But again, Fury Road is so... It's so revolutionary, and it's an excellent film. And it doesn't matter if you've not seen Mad Max before, and it doesn't matter if you don't like sci-fi or cars. It's just a crazy film.
I think, much like Whiplash, it's the best all-rounder on this list. Like, it does a bit of everything. If you just want mindless, big explosions and action, it's got that. If you want to look deeper into the meanings of how it all comes together and what have you, it's got that as well. So I feel like Mad Max is probably the film of the year. I see why it doesn't win because as we've discussed about the votings for these things, but Spotlight isn't Mad Max.
No.
No.
It's not actually that good either.
It's fine. Like it's not bad. It's
Exactly.
good.
It's
It's
fine.
well made. It's got some very good performances. But I'll probably never watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. 2016. The nominees were Manchester by the Sea, Lion, La La Land, Hidden Figures, Hell or High Water, which I've never heard of, Hacksaw Ridge, Fences, Arrival, and the winner that year was Moonlight.
Bollocks.
What are you having for this? Like, Moonlight was like the big coming out party for A24, I think. This was the first film that made people sort of sit up and notice them as a production company.
It's the one of the few A24 films I don't necessarily like. And I'm not going to say you should watch these in release order, but Hacksaw Ridge on your list as well. I don't know why it's here though. It's not for me. It's not as good as the other two. But La La Land's a masterpiece. It's good. Do you remember what I said at the time? When you were only must have been one of the early film conversations we had.
Yeah.
In Fancast days, that La La Land is what a film this is.
Yeah, and I remember this was the big one where they announced La La Land, but it was actually Moonlight that won. It was the whole fiasco that happened on stage. I also think it was the Adele Dazeem night where Idina Menzel got renamed by John Travolta. I haven't seen a lot of these films, in fairness. I feel I've only heard about most of them. I remember thinking that Arrival was going to be the one that won. I remember seeing it at the time and I was like certain it was going to win because there's also like a lot of Oscar buzz about it. And obviously it didn't. But again, I think that's a film that's kind of had a bit of a second life over the last few years. But no, it's La La Land. La La Land's the deserved winner. I watched it again a few months ago and it's still outstanding. Like it holds up and it's such a great film. It's tremendous performances. Yeah. Some good films on there, but nothing outstanding that year. 2017, the winner was The Shape of Water. And nominees were Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Shape of Water's fine, and I like Guillermo del Toro, but just feels a little bit uninspiring, that winner for me. But then I didn't particularly love Call Me By Your Name. I don't think Darkest Hour was very good. Didn't really like Dunkirk. So that's half the films gone before we've even got into the list of them.
The best film on this list is 3 Billboards by an absolute mile. I haven't seen Lady Bird. I haven't seen Phantom Thread. Get Out is good in its own way, but again, you're not going to win with the horror. We know this anyway. No. Darkest Hour and Dunkirk are war films. That's why you don't like them. Shape of Water is about bestiality. It's probably why it won.
Yeah.
The Post is. I was bored by that.
Yeah, I didn't love The Post, to be fair.
But I should have loved it. It was about a subject that I kind of like. I like all that kind of stuff, and that was like my kind of in my early days. I put the whole. Early days. Look on exit me moaning about things now, but I don't know. Maybe I was just in the wrong frame of mind. Maybe post seizure me to enjoy The Post now more. But we talked about 3 Billboards over and over again on this podcast over the last 4 years for a reason. I think it's just the best film on that list.
Yeah. If I'm honest, I think I could probably pick 10 completely different films and get a better list. Like Logan was released this year. Blade Runner 2049, Baby Driver, I, Tonya, Big Sick, It, War for the Planet of the Apes, Good Time, Brigsby Bear, Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think all of those probably deserve to be on this list.
I thought that was 2018. Killing the Sacred Deer then. Yeah.
Like, there's just so many better films than what was put on here. Of the ones, Get Out, Lady Bird, Three Billboards are the only ones that I think probably deserve to be on this list. Phantom Thread, I get it because it was Daniel Day-Lewis, so I sort of understand its existence on this list. Get Out's the one with the most rewatchability, I believe. Probably has the most depth of all. I think I would go with Get Out, personally. I see why it wouldn't win, but I think that's where my vote would 100% be going. 2018, Green Book was the winner. Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favourite, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice were the nominees. And weirdly enough, I had a conversation about Green Book only this week. Jafo, who's obviously been on this podcast a couple of times, was watching it, and he really enjoyed it. It's not a film I've got much time for, if I'm honest. I found it kind of generic. Like, it feels like it overlooks the actual issues of the day, and it seemingly promotes harmful tropes of the white savior, that the black man can only exist in this world because of Viggo Mortensen's character saying, no, he should be able to eat in this dining room if he's playing the music for this dining room. Like, I kind of feel like this film probably deserved a Razzie more than it deserved an Oscar. It certainly wasn't the best picture of the year. I don't even know why it's on the list, if I'm being perfectly honest. Pretty much any other film apart from Bohemian Rhapsody is deserving of the win here. Roma was the one, I think, for me. It had a lot of momentum going into it. It's a very strong film that had like an incredibly personal story behind it. Again, probably has the Schindler's List impact, but yeah, I think Roma probably should have won. What do you reckon, Stu?
Again, another remake there, and The Star Is Born. I never watched Green Book. I never had any inclination to watch Green Book, and still haven't. So take that with wherever. Black Panther should not be on this list. We know why it is. Fine, it's not the best film of the year. Black Klansman though was an experience I didn't expect. In a pre-George Floyd world as well, it was actually shocking, which doesn't happen very often. And I went in because it had KKK in the title. I thought, oh, this will be a laugh, and it kind of was, but in a very weird way. So, out of all of them, I obviously like Bohemian Rhapsody more than you did.
But that's not best film of the year territory,
no, nowhere near, and neither is Black Panther. Roma was fine for me. I enjoyed it. I could understand why if that had won, that would have made more sense. But for me, it was Black Klansman.
I was gutted that he didn't win the best director that year, but I'm sure that was the year that he won adapted screenplay, if I remember rightly. So I was pleased that Spike Lee did get an award that year, but yeah, that was a brilliant movie. 2019, Parasite was the big winner that year with Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood being the nominees. What have you got for that year, Stu?
They were probably right. I like 1917 was really good, really clever way of doing things. So props for that. I know you love Jojo Rabbit more than I did. The Irishman's too long. Ford versus Ferrari was a good film. I wouldn't say it's Oscar worthy though.
I really enjoyed it, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's best picture material.
I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood being on there is a nice nod. But it's not going to win because it's Tarantino, isn't it? So it's never going to work. But Parasite's a masterpiece. Just no complaints.
Yeah, Yeah, I really liked Irishman. Little Women, Ash, I was a big fan of. Marriage Story was excellent. 1917, that was another film I really enjoyed. I need to rewatch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I didn't love it at the first watch, and I've sort of pushed it back a little bit every time I think about rewatching it. Jojo Rabbit I rewatched, and it's largely fine. I don't think I liked it more on the first watching. I don't think it's as strong on repeat viewing. Same with Joker, mostly fine. Um, Probably just making up the numbers. Like, there's a couple in there that probably don't really deserve to be in the list, and that's probably them.
Mm.
Parasite is easily the best film of the bunch, so I think they got it right that year for sure. 2020, Nomadland was the big winner. The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Monk, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7 were the nominees there. Spoke about Nomadland a few weeks ago. Like, it's not a terrible film, but much like the next year's winners, it's kind of instantly forgettable to me. I know it was the pandemic awards and like that the world was weird back then. Um, I feel like missing Soul off the list was a mistake.
Yeah.
I think Soul probably should have been Oscar nominated because that was an amazing movie. If I remember correctly, was there some issue with it being straight to streaming potentially? I can't quite remember. I remember there was some issue with it as to why it didn't make it onto the list.
Well, Trial of the Chicago 7 was a Netflix film, so it can't be that.
It was, so it couldn't have been. I remember there was some like hullabaloo, but I can't remember what it was. I could probably make an argument for why Host should have won this award, because Host was the film that probably best described the previous 12 months. Everybody locked up, having to communicate through webcams to talk to each other. Host probably feels like the most 2020 film. So I could probably make an argument for that, but I think Soul probably was the best film that was released that year. What
I
have
mean,
you watched it?
I had The Trial of the Chicago 7 as my best film that year anyway.
You did, yes.
And agree with anything that the Academy does is strange. But Sound of Metal is superb and no one has seen it. It's a travesty. Because it's something you just don't...
Was that an Amazon film? Like,
Yeah, it was.
It felt like
Yeah.
that was just kind of hidden to the world, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on Prime Video. I'm guessing they didn't release it either because it was 2020.
Potentially.
But the amount of... I mean, I remember talking about it and neither of you two had heard about it back at the time. And I'd just watched it off my own back because it just appeared the one day. I thought, oh, this looks interesting. And it's something you don't think about. I don't think about losing the hearing, especially Matt being a drummer as well. It was just really impactful and really well done. And it was really sensitive to how they went about describing things. And they obviously had a lot of consultation with deaf people as well. I thought it was just really important and it just got no love at all. But so that is better than Nomadland as well. So it's... I don't know why that one. Just baffling choice.
Like I said, it wasn't a bad film. It just wasn't anything that left a mark. Speaking of things that didn't leave a mark, 2021's winner was Coda. Belfast, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, June, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story were the other nominees. I would have taken any of the nominees over Coda. I don't think Coda's a bad film, but it's just instantly forgettable. It was a nothing film. If I'm honest, I don't understand it. It's a TV movie, no more than that, and somehow won Best Picture. The fact that Tick Tick Boom wasn't nominated is unbelievable. Fucking Pig wasn't nominated, and what a movie that is. I said it on the podcast when we did our top 5 that West Side Story was the film of the year. I stand by that. I think West Side Story should have won the Oscar that year.
I mean, the fact that Sound of Metal was nominated and didn't win, and then this is nominated and wins the year after.
Yeah. Similar subject matter. Yeah.
Are they kind of fixing their own problem? Maybe.
Essentially.
But looking at that, and the ones you mentioned, we didn't even talk about Belfast, and Belfast was superb.
Mm-hmm. Very
Yeah,
good film.
bringing things that not necessarily everyone outside of the UK and Ireland would know about, other than if they're like you two. um, so for an important point of view, yeah, but it was just a good film in its own right, regardless of what the subject is about. He was just excellent. Sitting down on that, it was the 2nd of January it came out here?
I think it was. It was very early in the year, wasn't it?
And it was class. So that out of all of them, that would have been mine. So he kind of stuck with me all year, from the moment I saw it.
Mm. I remember seeing that because it was a secret screening at the Cineworld, so I didn't know what it was going to be. And then that started, and I was like, I have absolutely no idea what this film is. I'd heard nothing about it beforehand, so yeah, completely blind went in there, and I was kind of in awe of how good a movie it was at the end of it.
Mm.
There were some ruffians in the cinema who clearly didn't like the fact that it was black and white, and they
Feelings.
it's like there was a handful who just fucked off immediately when they saw it was a black and white film. And then probably about 2/3 of the way through the film, someone stood up at the front and said, "This is shit, who's coming with me?" And someone told him to fuck off. It's just such brilliant.
It's good. Well, are they going to go and protest?
Yeah, like, I'm sure Ken Branagh would give a shit that some cunt in Wolverhampton just fucked off halfway through his film. Fucking idiots. Right, 2022, Everything Everywhere All at Once was the winner that year. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of the Water, Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, Women Talking. What have you got for that, Stu?
The winner. Easily.
Yeah.
Not even a shadow of a doubt. I mean, shit, it's All Quiet on the Western Front. I really enjoyed that. Thought that was, again, really well done from a different point of view, like I've talked about in the past. Anything else I don't think would have cut. Well, no, there's obviously Women Talking, didn't see that. Tar, didn't see that. I think I saw Triangle of Sadness. But the fact that I'm having to think about it kind of says everything.
Woody Harrelson, they were on a cruise ship that got
Yeah.
grounded.
Yes, I have seen it. Yeah.
Really enjoyed that film, actually. It's
It,
great
it was
movie.
yeah, it was good, but it wasn't like Oscar worthy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And fucking Banshees is what it is. I would have understood if it won. It pissed me off. But that's not its fault. It just didn't work for me. Again, Avatar is not an Oscar winner. This is come on now. But Everything Everywhere All at Once changed a lot of things. It was we've said in the last two of these that it's very rare you see something new anymore.
Yeah.
And that was genuinely shocking in a very, very good way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this list, I didn't love Women Talking. I mean, clip that up in that sense.
Silence them. Kitchen band.
Yeah, the film was okay. It was a bit too slow for me, a little bit too just people talking and not much happening. I didn't love it. But the other 9 films, like I get why they're all there. Even Avatar, I've not seen Avatar: Way of the Water, in fairness. I understand why it's there because of, the technical aspects of the film. I understand it. I think in a year where we had The Batman, Boiling Point, Pearl, The Northman, Glass Onion, I think there were stronger films than Women Talking, if I'm honest. But in terms of the winner, I preferred Banshees, but I've rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once several times since then. So that probably tells its own story. So I think Everything is probably the right winner, if I'm being perfectly honest. Right, so 2023. So this is the last awards before the next one, which is due up. Obviously, Oppenheimer was the big winner that night. American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. This is the easiest one of all. like, I think Maestro is the only film that doesn't belong on this list. The other films are just better than pretty much any film that has been on any of the other list. I think in any other year, the majority of these films could have won the best picture, if I'm being honest. Oppenheimer, absolutely. We've said it recently. Oppenheimer is the best film of the 2020 so far. It's probably the best film of the 21st century. I don't think that's controversial, and I don't think I'm speaking on your behalf there, Stu. I think you agree with me. It's the rightful winner, and I think, yeah, the other 9 films, anyone being Maestro, they would probably win in any other year because this is the strongest the Oscar 10 has ever been.
Yeah, and I mean Oppenheimer. The minute I came out of that, that having been, well, I remember saying it was like being beaten to a pulp. Yeah, after watching that, and even then, I think, yeah, this is not going to be beaten now. This is the best film I've ever seen in my life, and it still is. 2 years later, it's like, yeah, it's not. I don't know how this is ever going to be topped because it was just a. Well, it's a 10 out of 10. It's there's no arguing about it. It just is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, Barbie's a close second.
Perfect.
I mean, come on, Barbie's a close
Barbie's
second.
outstanding. Like, it is genuinely brilliant.
But yeah, you are right.
Yeah.
All the others, you put them in. Maybe American Fiction is probably the weaker one, and Zone of Interest I've not seen. But all the others, you drop them in any other year, especially some of the fallow ones, they'll walk away with it, hands down.
Mm. I think Zone of Interest won Best Foreign Language at that ceremony, if I remember correctly. It's a powerful film that felt like a kick in the bollocks. It's very, very good. Again, it's the Schindler's List once is more than enough for me because it's tough going. But yeah, it's a great movie. Okay, so Stu, Anora the Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, June Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. Who's winning this year? At a guess.
And again, I mean, I kind of want to see Amelia Perez, but I don't want it at the same time. But it sounds so awful that I kind of need to. And I guess I would say, does Anora win because it's a comedy? Comedies don't win, do they?
Mm.
I think it's probably going to be Conclave. If I was putting money on it, it was just because political and all the kind of the way the things are.
Yeah.
I don't think June Part 2 is. That'd be my choice. But it's not going to win. The Substance, if The Substance won, I've said this before, when was the last time a horror won? At all?
Yeah.
You can't count Silence of the. It's not horror. Did it even win? Yeah, it did win, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It did, yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if Wicked won because of the absolute ridiculous over the top nonsense of them two and the press pack and the whole promotion of that film centered on them two loving each other.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, but it wouldn't surprise me. But I think Conclave will probably do it.
I think it's between Conclave and Anora. I think all of the controversy about Amelia Perez, I think that's probably shat all over their chances, if I'm honest now. I agree. Conclave, the subject matter is what will probably pull that through. I don't think it is a very, very well-made film, so I'd have no issues with that. I've not seen The Brutalist yet because, like, we know that the Academy don't always watch every film. A near 4-hour movie will put a lot of them off. So if they don't watch every film, The Brutalist is probably going to be the one they haven't watched. So I think that might fall by the wayside just based on that. So yeah, I think it's between Conclave and Anora. I think Anora was an excellent film. I think she's going to win the Best Actress. I don't know if it'll win the Best Film. I sort of agree. I feel like Conclave has probably got the best shot now. It feels like that's being pushed front and center. But I would lose my shit if The Substance won. I'd be so fucking brilliant.
It would be funny, and you had a piss ball in that night of people how can this win? It's an outrage. It's
It's awesome. Yeah, absolutely outstanding. Right, okay, that's Oscar chat done. We'll be talking more about the Oscars for 2024 next time out. Wind Talkers is going to be up next, where we're looking at Nick Cage in 2002. Welcome back, Wind Talkers. Stu, I'd never heard of this film, so when I mentioned it to you and you were excited about it being that John Woo film, I was kind of surprised. So you'd obviously already heard of this film.
I already seen it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, 10 minutes in, because when it said John Woo, I remember at the time because I watched Hard Boiled and I played Stranglehold, which is the sequel to Hard Boiled.
Mm.
And obviously Mission Impossible 2 is John Woo as well. And I went in a whole John Woo kick back then. So
Right, okay.
I had seen this, but I hadn't seen it for so long, and I'd forgot a lot of it. And you can kind of understand why. Yeah, it wasn't as good as I remembered it. And being a war film, and to be fair, I haven't seen the extended version. I've only ever seen the 2 hour 8 minutes one. No, I don't think it makes that much difference, really.
I doubt it. I think mine like 15 minutes longer than yours. I'd be kind of interested to see what the difference between the two would be, but there's no way on earth I'm watching this fucking film again. It's just not going to happen.
Because I remember it being promoted because the sheer amount of explosions in it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it being a thing. It's not mentioned on IMDb, but I remember at the time it being a thing. I just didn't know it was this film and until I started looking into it, and then it started. I thought, I have seen this. Because I thought it might have had a different name here, and that's why I didn't recognise it. But yeah, but again, like I said before, I said last time about Butcher's Crossing, with this one, I actually did learn a completely different language for no reason at all.
Did he learn the Navajo then?
He learned fucking Navajo. He didn't speak it.
Not used once. Fuck you now.
Just because he wanted to. That is the crazy straight off the bat. He learned Navajo language so he could be at one with the people.
That is such a Nick Cage thing, is it? Incredible. Speaking of Nick Cage things, then, so my crazy was, it's another Nick Cage film where he sustains an injury to his face or head. Like the dying of the light dark. He had the problem with the ear, 8mm. There was something that fucked up his eye. Season of the Witch, Face Off, obviously. Like, he's got history of just wanting to do shit to his face for no real fucking reason.
And that very bizarre scar on the side of his head as well for the.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? So this film, the story is set during World War II and focuses on the use of Navajo code talkers, Native American soldiers, who use their language to create an unbreakable code. Joe Enders, which is Nick Cage, is assigned to protect Ben Yahtzee, a Navajo code talker, during the Battle of Saipan. The film follows the intense and emotional journey of Enders as he grapples with the duty to protect Yahtzee whilst fulfilling his orders, even if it means sacrificing Yahtzee's life. This film highlights the heroism of the Navajo code talkers and the complexities of war. What have you got any good for the film, Stu?
I mean, a lot of this was like War Film 101.
Yeah.
But it was done well. So you can't it's both good and bad, because when it was done well, it was done really well. And I was properly invested in it. And you couldn't take your eyes off it at times. I mean, saying that, at the exact same time, you can go from one scene where it looks amazing to some very dodgy, like 1992 CG, which is 10 years out of date somehow, for this. And things like where you've got like expression faces and like arms and legs being blown off, which was fun. But that was done. So when it was good, it was really good from a war film point of view. When it was bad, it looked hokey as shit. And considering this was a proper big budget film at the time, and it was promoted everywhere, it's pretty bad, really. But I thought they did it with respect. I thought they did it well with in terms of they framed the obvious racist as a moron, and
Yeah.
you can imagine it being as it was at the time. I mean, and from what you're learning, well, I'm guessing you haven't watched the Pacific, um, but that kind of thing, and by Pearl Harbor as well, and the Japs and the Nips and all that kind of thing, the names that
Yeah.
they call them. It's very period accurate.
Mhm.
I'll give it that. And there's clearly a lot of love and research been put into this. So it's not something, and it's a subject that no one knows about. Like that one we did about the submarine, that was awful, but
Yeah.
it was a good subject matter. This was the same, and the fact that they got the one guy, the other code talker in this, not the one he was protecting, the one that what was his name? Christian Slater was protecting.
Mhm.
He was just brought onto the film as the guy who speaks the language, and then they gave him a part.
Right, okay.
So because he was so good at it, so
Mm.
there you go. You can do this now. But seeing them two on screen was a strange phenomenon as well.
Mm.
Like you don't, because all I could think of was where's the link between these and Broken Arrow?
Yeah.
They've obviously both Travolted it through the
Yeah.
years. Imagine the three of them together.
It feels like it needs to happen, doesn't it? Mm.
Maybe that's what Face Off 2 is. It's Christian
That's
Slater.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Well, they've all got each other's face.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a bog standard war film, I thought it was all right.
Mhm.
That was my good. But my
Mhm.
bad, it just seemed very dated for a film that's only 23 years old.
Mm.
It seemed like something from the 90s. It seemed 10 years out of time.
Very, yeah.
And when you consider that Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, which is a fucking TV show, had already done all this a lot better around the same time,
Mm.
it just looks really bad in comparison.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean. Calling it 90s does feel very, very apt, actually, doesn't it? For my good, I thought that the battle scenes were really well laid out. I think, like, some of the multi-man, multi-moving part things were done really quite well in this,
Mm.
which I suppose it's John Woo, so you sort of expect it, but you don't expect it in a war film. Like, it wasn't just explosions and flying bullets. They did enough to keep you on the edge of your seat, I thought, throughout those battle scenes. Like the opening where Cage gets his injury, the battle with Harrigan, where his flamethrower explodes. I thought that was well done. When Yahtzee dresses as a Japanese fighter and they infiltrate the base, like, I thought that was brilliant. Which kind of leads me on to the bad, because outside of those parts, it's a bit slow, bit ponderous, I felt. It wasn't very exciting. I don't think they really focused on the right story, if I'm being honest, because this wasn't Cage's story. This should have been Yahtzee's story. It should have been about the Navajo code breakers, not about the white man protecting the Navajo code breakers. It just felt like it was unfocused because of that. Yahtzee came across as a bit of a stereotype. Like, it was allegedly to highlight the heroism of the Navajo, but he was a bit part player in this movie. So that really was my bad, was that it just wasn't focused on the right person. There was a story there to tell, but it wasn't Nick Cage's story.
Yeah, it's a bit like it's too Americanized for its own good, which is weird when you've got a non-American director. Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. It's just, it seems very. It wouldn't surprise me if there's studio interference in this
Yeah.
from certain angles where it looks like it's why on earth would they go to all the trouble of getting all the Navajo stuff, all the background stuff there, all the research, and then making a action movie, a
Mm,
war film? Because
yeah.
it just doesn't seem. Yeah, I suppose that's exactly what my problem with, because it is unfocused, like you said. It is.
Mm,
it is it is a John Woo war film rather than a film about the Navajo.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what its problem is, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. So that probably is what it is.
Mm.
Because it's at odds with itself. Because you have the moments where, like down by the water, where you are highlighting the fact that you look like them,
Yeah.
and then it all kicks off, and then it goes back to being rah rah America again.
Mm. I think that is it, if I'm being honest. Like, it could have been something, because jumping ahead slightly to Cage Good or Bad, I thought Cage was really good in this,
Uh-huh.
but I think that was to the detriment of the film. Like, I think if he was a little bit less of the focus of it, just let him do this great performance he's giving, but just give some more time to the supporting cast.
But I didn't think anyone was bad though. This is the problem. I didn't think
Mhm.
any of them were exceptionally bad in this. I thought Cage was excellent. It's something when it's like, with everything, when he's got a passion for something, he proper goes full in. But there was no real crazy Cage of this. It was sad, depressed loser Cage.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Oh, one other crazy thing I've got, Stu, for you. Well, I was watching the credits, and I saw key hairstylist Janice Clark, hairstylist Linda Littersharp and Linda Ritsu, wig maker Carol Doran, and Nicolas Cage's hairstylists William Farley and Joseph Cossica. So 33% of the hair department was just for the Nick Cage. And look, he didn't even have like a crazy Cage haircut. He literally just had a normal Nick Cage do. I don't know why you needed two guys to keep his hair in check on this one.
Yeah, I thought the wig makers are kind of. But then again, he's shaved his head and he didn't need to for Butcher's Crossing. Like there was no point
Yeah,
of him having a
yeah,
shaved head for that last week. So who even knows at this point? Like
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if it's a hair system now.
quite possibly, quite possibly. Did you like it? Would you recommend it?
I mean, I did like it. I didn't like it as much as when I realised I'd watched it before. The fact that I had forgotten that I'd watched it before. Um, in a very it's in a very kind of U571 thing where
Mm,
it's a war film of the time that's a bit rubbish compared to other ones at the time. Um, so if you're into if you're into war films, then obviously watch this. It's good from that point of view. Um,
mm,
if you want a story about the hidden parts of the war, then no, because that's not what this is. Go and watch Nat Geo and the documentaries that are actually focused.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. It's not really from me. I think it's yeah. I think there's probably really good documentaries on the Navajo code breakers that will tell you about what they did in this world, not
Mm.
this film. So yeah, I've already said I thought Nick Cage was good, and that was probably to the detriment of the film. Stu, do you agree? Nick Cage good?
Yeah, I thought he was great. He's really, just at the peak of his powers as well. He hadn't gotten to the fallow years yet. So he was still relevant. He was around about Gone in 60 Seconds was around about this time. So he was still a pretty big name,
Mm,
and
yeah,
you can kind of see he was good, very good.
yeah, absolutely. If you enjoyed Wind Talkers, you may also like
Hmm. I think it has been mentioned for a long time. Just go and watch Apocalypse Now.
tremendous film.
Yeah, it's like it's cold outside. You can literally warm yourself up with some napalm.
Yeah, that's it. Watch the Redux, fucking 8 hours, cause
Mm.
why not? Uh, I've gone with Platoon. I think because of Windtalkers being focused on the wrong person and the stylized version of the fight scenes, like it almost glamorizes war. So I think Platoon will show you the more brutal realities and the moral conflicts and the dilemmas that were actually faced by soldiers. I think it would expand on what Windtalkers gave us and sort of failed to deliver. Um, Also, Vietnam's the better war, but in terms of like what it's produced media wise, It's got a better soundtrack, and I think that makes the Vietnam War films much more watchable.
Vietnam's a better war. Women shouldn't talk.
Life in the day, you know, it's got, Right, okay. It'll be a question cast, I think, next week. Let me have a look. Yes, it is. And we're watching Time to Kill. I don't know anything about that film, so I'll be interested to see what that one is all about. Make sure you've got us on your podcast chat, and if you leave us a 5-star review, we will love you forever. Any emails to cagefightingpod@gmail.com and socials at cagefightingpod. And for this week, Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe. Don't blow up.
It's goodbye from me, and remember, be excellent to each other.